Hey there YouTube, Mr. Lubufu here with Complete Set Review, Part 2, Blue Cards. So let's just jump right in. So we have Eerie Worshippers, so it's a 4-mana 2/4, which the 4 toughness is actually going to be pretty relevant, just because there's a lot of 3 power creatures, and the 2 power is relevant because there's a lot of 2 toughness creatures. So it's not bad in that sense, like you might be able to get some good attacks in, but I still, I am uninspired by the inspired mechanic, let's just go with that. Unless it's out cards like Arbiter be ideal. A 6 mana 4/5 flyer is already really good, and being able to trigger Inspired and get free cards like that without having to pay mana or anything, yeah, very good. Um, this is one of those, I mean, it's the pre-release card for blue, and it's the best of the bunch for a reason. Archetype of Imagination is a card that I really like, because it's 6 mana, kill your opponent, basically. If you have any sort of board presence or anything, like, you slam this down and your creatures are unblockable, because you just attack and evasion's good. I really like this card. I'm not sure how powerful it is, or how slow the format is, but I still think it's going to be good enough to get there. Chorus of the Tides is a 3/2 flyer for 4, which the 2 toughness immediately just, there's a lot of 2 power flyers. And then Heroic, it just lets you scry 1, so I'm not impressed by Chorus of the Tides at all. Crypsis, target creature control gains protection from creatures your opponents control until end of turn, untap it. So either making it unblockable and then attacking with it, or like attacking with a creature and then using Crypsis to untap it and be able to block something is okay. I'm not, I think it's an okay card. I really am not that impressed. Deepwater Hypnotist, it's a 2/1 for 2, so again, 2 power, and whenever it becomes untapped, our creature gets -3/-7. Like, this is a pretty mediocre effect, to be honest. Divination, it's fine and limited, so you might want to play it. I love the art, by the way. Eternity Snare, 6 mana. Oh, 6 mana for the dehydration effect. Yeah, it draws you a card, but I mean, Paralyzing Grasp costs 3, and that, no, we're just gonna go with Evanescent Intellect. So enchant creature, and then you can mill them, and no, don't play this. Unless you would, like, get 15 of them, or something stupid like that. Like, 15 of them seems terrible, even still. I like Faded Infatuation. If you're in heavy enough blue, being able to just clone a creature at instant speed and scry 2 is fine. The triple blue mana cost is the only important thing. You probably won't be able to cast this until turn 4 or 5. Remember when I said in the white set review, Eidolons got their game on? Well, Flitterstep Eidolon, no joke. Being able to +1/+1 give a creature unblock. I mean, it's not as good as the blue unblockable creature spell from Theros, because that only costs 1 mana, and it lets you scry every time you attack. But this guy, don't underestimate him. He can do stuff. We have Floodtide Serpent, which I think is pretty bad. Unless you really have a bunch of enchantments you can recycle, but it's not in the same. It's not in the same league, and it's only a 4/4, which, I mean, it gets blocked by Ness and Asps all day, all day. Kraken of the Straits. I mean, if it didn't cost 7, I would like it a little bit better, but I mean, it's almost a 6/6 unblockable, basically. Also, for some reason, I'm in love with this art. I don't know why. We have Melitist Astronomer, so it's a 1/3 for 2, which the body's not as good as you would think, because there's a lot of 3 powers. There's a lot of 3/1s and 3/2s and 3/3s in this format. So he's not as good a blocker as you would think. And, I mean, he is, like, if you get to Heroic, you may be able to get card advantage from it, but I'm not that impressed with him. Mind Reaver, it's pretty bad and limited, that's for certain. It might see play in the mono blue deck, though. Nullify is one of those cards that I'm not a fan of. I mean, in limited, it's almost certainly a counterspell, just because people are almost, I would say 90% of spells are creatures or auras in Theros draft, so it could be okay. People do kind of expect the counterspells, though, when you leave up mana. I am not a fan of Nyxborn Triton. I mean, it's a 2/3, and it has a pretty cheap bestow cost of 5, but Getting +2/+3 is not really worth it. I'm not a fan of it. I don't like Oracle's Insight at all, though it does turn your creature into a a card draw engine. The fact it costs 4 puts me off just a little bit. I think it has the potential to be powerful. You just have to have the right deck for it. Perplexing Chimera is, well, a perplexing card, but I think it's quite good in limited. Because it's like, oh, you have a bomb spell, you gotta deal with this thing first. Do remember, though, that if you steal their spell and they get Perplexing Chimera, they can use its ability on the spells you want to cast. Retraction Helix is a reprint with different name, of course. Basically, it's like, oh look, this card can help with Inspire. I don't like it. Siren of the Fanged Coast makes me sad because it's like, oh look, you can get Mind Control or a 4/4 flyer, but the thing is, you'll always get the one you don't want, and that's why this card is not as good as Mind Control. Period. So I'm disappointed. Sphinx's Disciple, 5 mana, 2/2 flyer that when it goes untapped, draw a card. The fact it's a 2/2 means it's not as good. Like, if it was a 3/3, it'd be so much better. Just because there's a lot of 2-power flyers. Stratus Walk, 2 mana. Basically, it cantrips, which is nice, and a creature has flying. This card has the potential to be good in, like, a blue-white heroic deck. Because it's a free spell, essentially, and has flying. The fact it can only block creatures with flying is a bit of a downside, but typically you're turning creatures sideways in that deck. Sunstorm, tap 2 creatures, they don't untap, and scry 1. I don't think it's that good. It costs 4, it's a lot. Fascist Rebuff is not as good as it's going to be in Standard, and not much else I want to say about that. Tumulcritus, this guy's a limited bomb. You get to 7 mana, and then it's like, have fun, blarg, kill you. That's what this guy's gonna do. He's gonna blarg. Blarg. We have Vortex Elemental, which thank goodness they got a reference to Crypsis, or is it Scylla? I think it's Crypsis, from the Odyssey, where you get the whirlpool monster. And I love the effect. It's like, target player blocks, like if it blocks if able, or for blue, you put in each creature blocking it on top of shuffle libraries. It feels like a Gomazoa sort of effect. I think it's really cute. Do I think you'll see play? It's not terrible. I think my love for the flavor of this card is overwhelming my thought of limited playability. And lastly, we have Whelming Wave, which, I mean, if you're playing blue, you might have Krakens, Leviathan, Octopi, or Serpents. I love how they put octopuses. That is technically correct. I know. I just grew up with Octopi. The thing is, like, Krakens, Leviathan, Octopuses, and Serpents all cost a metric ton of mana. So Whelming Wave is basically gonna just evacuation everything. Unless you, unless it's later in the game, of course. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Rate, comment, subscribe, and check out the other parts to the set review. Thank you guys for watching.